On Bitcoin M30 time frame, we were waiting for a new swing to form around our green trend line and then sell on its back downward, and that's exactly what happened. And if we zoom in a little bit, we can see that we can also draw this trend line by connecting these three dots. Anyway, our entry was after a momentum candle close below this swing, our stop loss above the last red dot or last swing high for those who don't have RichTL, and we target, as you can see, a 2 to 1 risk to reward ratio. This sell hit take profit. So let's delete our previous analysis and make a quick update as usual. If we zoom out to weekly time frame again, we can see that price is currently sitting around its all-time high 20k. It's now retesting it again, so we are still looking for sell setups on lower time frames. Unless price breaks it upward aggressively with many bullish candles, then a bullish movement would be expected. But as long as price is sitting around this 20k, we are looking for sell setups on lower time frames. If we zoom into M30 again, we can see that Bitcoin is now forming this trend line in red. As usual, it's not valid yet. We always wait for 3 touches to consider it valid. So we'll be waiting for a new swing to form around it to consider it valid and to consider it our trigger swing, as you can see here. And then we'll enter sell after a momentum candle close below this swing. When the sell is activated, our stop loss as usual would be above the last swing high, and we target a 2 to 1 risk to reward ratio. And if the sell is activated and price approaches our lower support around 1600, we'll be looking for buy setups on lower time frames. That's it for Bitcoin. Until our sell is activated, Bitcoin would be overall bullish, and as mentioned for weekly, can still break above the 20k. As I always say, trading is reactive and not predictive, so please don't sell now. Always wait for confirmation and trigger to put the odds in your favor. Good luck. On AUDUSD daily time frame, price is still sitting around a strong support and resistance zone in green, as you can see. So we'll be looking for objective sell setups on lower time frames. Unless price breaks it upward aggressively with many bullish candles, then our uh, resistance would become support, and we'll be looking for buy setups on a 3 test as a movement till our next resistance in red 0.78 would be expected. As mentioned before, price is currently sitting around resistance, so we'll zoom into lower time frames and look for potential sell opportunities. If we zoom into H1 time frame, we can see that AUDUSD is overall bullish from a short-term perspective, so it wouldn't be a good idea to sell just yet. But since price is sitting around resistance, we will be looking for sell setups. Nothing is confirmed yet, so we'll be waiting for a third swing to form around our lower red trend line to consider it valid, and then we will sell after a momentum candle close below it. And when the sell is activated, our stop loss would be just above the last swing high, and we target a 2 to 1 risk to reward ratio. Meanwhile, until our sell is activated, AUDUSD would be overall bullish and can still test the upper bound of the resistance before going down. So as mentioned, we are still overall bullish. Price is making higher highs and higher lows from a short-term perspective, but we are waiting for our trigger for the sellers to prove to us that they are taking control. And as usual, if price approaches our lower support, we will be looking for buy setups on lower time frames. That's it for AUDUSD. Good luck. On the 30 DAX daily time frame, price is still sitting around a strong supply zone as price made an aggressive movement downward from it. Moreover, we do have this gap, as you can see here. That's why we'll be looking for sell setups on lower time frames, knowing that price can still go up to test the upper bound of the zone to get more liquidity to be able to push price lower. That's why we don't sell immediately as price approaches a rejection zone, and we wait for external confirmation and trigger. We want to see a clear shift in momentum. We want the sellers, in this case, as we're looking for sell setups, to prove to us that they are taking control. Then and only then we will enter sell. So as mentioned, we'll be looking for sell setups, knowing that price can still go up before going down. If we zoom into H1 time frame, as per our last analysis, price was trading inside this channel and we were waiting for a new swing to form around it to consider it valid, and that's what happened. That's what we were waiting for. So now this trend line is valid, also forming a channel as an add-on. So for now our trigger is ready, and we'll be waiting for a momentum candle close below this area to sell the E30. And as usual, if price forms a new swing around our or a new blue dot around our trend line, then we will update our trigger swing. But for now, that's the last swing standing around our trend line. So we'll be waiting for this one to be broken downward to sell DAX. And when the sell is activated, our stop loss would be just above the last swing high, and we target a 2 to 1 risk to reward ratio, which would be around this minor demand zone. And as usual, as price approaches our lower support, we will be looking for buy setups on lower time frames. Meanwhile, as mentioned from weekly, as long as until our sell is activated, DAX would be overall bullish and can still go up to test the zone, to dive inside the zone before going down. In this case, if price trades higher, then we'll be looking for new sell setups, or if price goes up, then form a new swing around our trend line and we'll consider it our new trigger swing. That's it for DAX. Let me zoom in a little bit, and here we go. Best of luck. On Dow Jones weekly time frame, price is still sitting around our round number and all-time high 3000. That's why we'll be looking for sell setups on lower time frames. Unless price breaks it upward aggressively with many bullish candles, then a bullish movement would be expected. And as usual, as price approaches our lower support, we'll be looking for buy setups on lower time frames. For now, price is sitting around a potential rejection zone around 3000. So let's zoom into lower time frames and look for potential sell opportunities. As per our last analysis, we were waiting for a third swing to form around our lower red trend line to consider it valid, and then sell on its break downwards. And that's exactly what happened. As you can see, price formed a third swing or blue dot around our lower trend line. So it's now ready to sell after a momentum candle close below this swing. And as usual, when the sell is activated, our stop loss would be above the last swing high, which is still the same around this potential swing high, and we target a 2 to 1 risk to reward ratio. And as price approaches our lower support, we'll be looking for buy setups on lower time frames. Meanwhile, until our sell is activated, Dow Jones is still overall bullish, and it's not a good idea to sell just yet, as it can still test the upper red trend line before going downward, or even break it upward aggressively as mentioned from weekly and trade higher. Good. On GBPJPY daily time frame, price is currently sitting around a strong support and resistance, as you can see in blue. That's why we'll be looking for sell setups on lower time frames unless price breaks it upward aggressively with many bullish candles. Then our resistance would become support, and we'll be looking for buy setups on 3 test as a movement till our upper supply and resistance zone would be expected. And as price approaches our purple level, we'll be looking for sell setups. For now, as mentioned, price is rejecting and is sitting around a resistance zone, so we'll be looking for sell setups on lower time frames. And as price approaches our green level 136, we'll be looking for buy setups on lower time frames. If we zoom into H4 time frame, we can see that we already have a valid trend line. As you can see, we already have 4 touches, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And for now, this is our last and trigger swing. So we'll be waiting for a momentum candle close below this area to for the sellers to prove to us that they are taking over, and that's exactly where we will enter the trade after a momentum candle close, as mentioned before. The stop loss goes just above the last swing high, and we target a 2 to 1 risk to reward ratio. And when the sell is activated, as price approaches uh, our uh, our support level in green, we'll move our stop loss for the sell to break even, and we'll be looking for buy setups on lower time frames. And if the buy is activated around here, we'll close our sell and buy GBPJPY. And if price keeps on going down, then it will hit our take profit, and we will be looking for buy setups as price approaches our lower support as mentioned from daily time frame. That's it for GBPJPY until our sell is activated. This one would be overall bullish. Good luck. On NZDCHF weekly time frame, price is currently sitting around a strong supply zone in green as price made an aggressive movement downward from it. And we also have this non-horizontal resistance zone. That's why we'll be looking for sell setups on lower time frames, knowing that price can still test our brown trend line or even this previous high before to get more liquidity before going down. But since price is sitting around supply, we will be looking for sell setups. And as price approaches our lower support, as you can see in blue, we'll be looking for buy setups on lower time frames. If we zoom into H1 time frame, we can see that price formed an objective trend line in red. Here we go. Price broke below the red trend line but didn't break below our last swing, which is around here. That's why we call it the last swing standing, because it's the last swing that forms around our red, our trend line in general. So as mentioned, we'll be waiting for a momentum candle close below the swing because it didn't happen yet to sell NZDCHF, and as usual the stop loss would be above the last swing high, and we target a 2 to 1 risk to reward ratio, which would be around here, which is a minor demand zone as you can see. Meanwhile, until our sell is activated, and the DCHF would be overall bullish, and as mentioned from weekly can still test the brown trend line and the upper bound of the supply zone before going downward, because as I always say, trading is reactive and not predictive. You can't really know where the price will reverse and start moving in the opposite direction. We always wait for extra confirmation and trigger, but since price is sitting around supply, that's why we are looking for sell setup and potential reversal. Good luck.